How important a role does speed of execution play, do you think?
I mean, in this game, it's kind of the only thing that matters, right? It's like, how fast can you figure stuff out? If you think about the game that venture funded founders are playing, and they're taking money and they've got roughly 18 months to figure something out that's really critical to getting to the next round of financing. And so if you can move quickly...
What can you do to increase your speed of execution?
It goes back to hiring great people and mostly getting out of the way and giving them the autonomy to make decisions. I think it is also being really explicit about which decisions are things that can be changed and need to be made really quickly, and which decisions can't be changed and are really high consequence. And I think if you find the right leaders and you build the right exec team, they'll mostly be able to parse those two things. And they'll certainly be, if it's even cuspy on the bigger decisions, they'll be coming to you and you'll be working through it. But for everything else, like, people should have the autonomy to go. Like, you should be hiring real doers that know how to execute, and then they should feel like they have the autonomy to make the call and go as fast as possible.
Do you start from a relationship of full trust?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. When we were acquired by Amazon, we sort of took all of our internal, the equivalent of Amazon LPs, like leadership principles, right? And we tried to mash them up kind of one-to-one with what's the equivalent like Amazon one. And they actually like almost all tracked sort of one-to-one, like customer obsession and all these things were kind of dead on. And the one that was the exact opposite was, we had this leadership principle at PillPack, which was my favorite, which was assume the best, right? So almost all your best relationships in life are about assuming the best in someone, not assuming the worst, right? And so if you start from that frame, like, you'll get rid of 90% of conflict by assuming that people are trying to figure it out and everyone's doing their best. Amazon's equivalent was earn trust, which is the opposite leadership principle. And I didn't actually think a whole lot of it. Like, we mapped them, like, oh yeah, it's kind of the same, earn trust, assume the best. In hindsight, that is like literally the opposite culture, right? It's like, it's kind of assume the worst until you're proven otherwise. And so, yeah, we built a culture that assumed the best, people showed up, we made bets on people, and then we assumed that they were going to execute and we trusted them. Like, there was not this environment of like,
did you ever make a big fuck up because of assuming the best? I listened to that and I think that's kind of naive. I don't mean it badly. I'm an earn trust.
Yeah, and didn't, and never backfired on us in a meaningful way. And certainly there was a lot of goodness that came from it. So no is the short answer, but certainly could have been burned.
Well, speaking of kind of the goodness that comes from it, ultimately you want to achieve rapid decision making. In terms of achieving that culture of rapid decision making, other than like assuming the best from day one, what works well in creating a culture of rapid decision making, and what really messes it up?
Well, I think if you're making really critical, irreversible decisions rapidly, that will really fuck it up. Like, I think you'll make a lot of really bad decisions. And so, I think for those, like, honestly, like, I took as long as like humanly possible to make those critical decisions. And honestly, to some extent, to the frustration of my exec team throughout the course of the business, but a lot of times, like, in a very kind of mutually agreeable, productive way. Honestly, like, the best articulation of this out of everyone on my team was Elliot, who's my co-founder, who is amazing. And I'd say the bigger decisions that we made over the course of the business were a byproduct of going on 2-hour walks 3 times a week for 6 months. Like, we were just batting these things back and forth for a very long time, sort of reticent to make the call. And I think that's super important too. It's like a bifurcation of decision making. It's like, if you can change your mind, just make those decisions as fast as humanly possible. Honestly, don't even bring them to me. Just like, go. And if you're wrong, we'll change your mind and we'll do it the other way. That's totally fine. But if it's something that's irreversible, like, we're gonna work this one out until you're so frustrated that you feel so confident that it's the right decision that we'll know it's the right decision. I think sometimes people sort of make all the decisions in the median instead of sort of bifurcating these things. And I think that's super critical.